Sith artifacts are objects or even weapons that have been previously corrupted by the dark side of the Force using various complex and dangerous Sith rituals. Some Sith artifacts were created to cheat death, or even conquer space and time itself. To possess a Sith artifact granted one immense command over the darkness, but was also a huge risk, as many of these artifacts possessed a mind of their own, and their own unique stance and part of the dark side. In the days of the ancient Jedi and Sith Empire, beings with relatively low connection and influence over the Force have been granted considerable power simply by using Sith artifacts. The best example of this being the Sith acolyte known as Hazen, who grew immensely powerful in the dark side of the Force despite having a limited connection to the Force itself, simply bolstering his power to some of the great emperors of the past by using artifacts alone. Since the creation of the Sith Empire, Dark Lords have utilized these artifacts to pass on knowledge and obtain power, as the pursuit of power is the ultimate goal of any Sith. So today we will be discussing 7 of the most powerful and dangerous Sith artifacts in all of the Star Wars mythos, and what each of them did. These are, without a shadow of a doubt, some of the most dangerous items that we will ever encounter over all of Star Wars. Most of them are ancient, and all of them are lethal. Number 7, the Myrrh Talisman. The Myrrh Talisman was one of 3 amulets desired to be spread across the Sith Empire. The Myrrh Talisman, arguably the most powerful of the 3, had the ability to change anyone into a mindless, ferocious beast using Sith alchemy. This process caused the amulet to imbue such darkness into a being that they physically actually changed because of it, and lost their minds, becoming slaves to the trinket. Secretly though, the amulet also contained the original owner, Carnus Myrrh's spirit within it, with the intention of others that sought the amulet to eventually be corrupted by his spirit within, so that he may live once more through possession. The Myrrh Talisman also stopped the user from aging, with the hopes that the spirit of Myrrh would have unlimited amount of time to possess the user's body. Eventually, Cade Skywalker would fall into possession of the amulet thousands upon thousands of years after its creation, and using his ability of Shatterpoint, which allowed one to see and exploit weaknesses in the Force, he managed to destroy it, destroying the horrible sickness that caused beings under its influence to transform into monsters. The Myrrh Talisman is unique as it stems again from Carnus Myrrh, one of the original Dark Jedi who founded the more modern Sith Empire. And out of a ton of the ancient amulets and weapons that we'll be discussing on this list is one of the oldest. Number 6, the Telos Holocron. If someone truly believes knowledge is power, then the Telos Holocron should by far be the most valuable artifact on this list. Even before the reign of the Sith Lord Mark Aragnos, this ancient holocron was constructed by the Sith Empire. The Telos Holocron was designed to be the keeper of all knowledge concerning the dark side of the Force. The Telos Holocron has been known to bring beings from low places to powerful Dark Lords, if they were deemed worthy enough to access the knowledge within. The knowledge within the Telos Holocron, though, has literally created some of the most dangerous, renowned and powerful Dark Lords in all of Star Wars. The Telos Holocron was passed down through the generations of Sith to the most powerful of the Order, as these Sith would then be tasked with entering their experiences and discoveries in the Force onto the Telos Holocron. Naga Sadow being one of the earliest Sith Lords to command this holocron. The holocron, though, was passed down through the time of Sadow all the way until Darth Bane of the Sith found it, and it granted him knowledge necessary to become the one true Dark Lord. Darth Bane would later transfer Darth Revan's teachings onto the holocron, and over more time it was eventually gifted to Lord Sidious, who would often ponder upon the experiences and knowledge of the old masters placed upon the holocron. It was also considered Darth Sidious's greatest and most powerful possession. After Sidious's death, Luke Skywalker would order the holocron locked away, deeming it too dangerous, but would also allow the finest of the new Jedi Order to occasionally study it, recognizing the great knowledge of the ancient Sith. Number 5, Darth Vader's Glove. When the Rebellion first destroyed the Death Star and the Empire was proven mortal, prophecies around the galaxy formed claiming that once the Empire fell, a new ruler would arise wearing the glove of Darth Vader, the Empire's greatest enforcer. After the Empire did in fact fall, Vader's right glove did survive the explosion on the second Death Star. Across the stars, one of the Emperor's Grand Moffs formulated a plan and took an easily influenced mutant, claiming that the mutant recipient was Emperor Palpatine's son and rightful emperor of the galaxy. The Moff then departed on a quest for the glove of Vader, confident it would seal his claim for the throne to the public. When he eventually found this glove, its relevance had faded, but it was still believed that it was the source of Darth Vader's power, and one could move things with their minds while wearing it. Many of the public believed that the Force did not exist at all, and that all of Darth Vader's power stemmed directly from this glove. The glove was then used against the Jedi Luke Skywalker, but nothing happened, and they were swiftly defeated by Luke. The glove eventually passed to Vader's former student Lumaya, who cherished it, and the past power of Darth Vader. The glove was not significant or powerful in the traditional sense, but immediately following the death of Vader was considered the most valuable artifact in the galaxy, as the one who wore it essentially would have controlled the entirety of the Empire. Number 4. The Concentration Amulet. In the ancient Jedi and Sith empires, Sith artifacts were far more common than in recent centuries. The two most widely known Sith artifacts were the Artifacts of Concentration and the Artifact of Ensnarement. The Artifacts of Concentration were most often found in Sith rituals, as it amplified those in direct contact with it and their command over the dark side. These artifacts were commonly used in rituals as they often required far more dark side energy than is commonly produced by a normal Dark Jedi or a Sith. In the decades that followed, though, the Jedi began to learn from the artifacts as well, turning them to the light side of the Force and amplifying their own power. As a result of this discovery, the Sith created a trap known as the Artifacts of Ensnarement. These artifacts instantly channeled huge amounts of the dark side into anyone that touched them, and was designed to trick Jedi when they attempted to cleanse the concentration artifacts. In most cases, a Jedi would instantly turn to the dark side of the Force after feeling its power, or would instantly be struck down because of the immense hatred that came with it, but in rare cases, powerful Jedi resisted, and the darkness was so intense that it killed them, sucking away all of their light. However, unfortunately, it was one or the other. It was either turning and corruption to the dark side or certain death. Number 3. The Amulet of Kalara. The Amulet of Kalara was powerful because it had the ability to hide someone's presence in the Force. In fact, if one wore it, they would be completely unsensible to any Jedi or Sith, no matter how powerful. This potentially allowed any user to easily ambush any Force user, and make it impossible for them to predict their next move in combat. As the Force is very similar to instinct when fighting someone, and using the amulet, they could only react after an attack was levied. Unfortunately for the amulet, though, it was often discarded by Force wielders, as it hid its own power in the Force and could not be sensed, causing many to pass it over. Nonetheless, though, if any Force wielder held the amulet, they were essentially unbeatable in combat. Number 2, and probably the most powerful item on this list, is the Dark Staff. The item known as the Dark Staff is possibly the most mysterious artifact on this list, since it commands a version of the Force we know very little about, that is not the dark or the light side. We're about to get really weird. Apparently, the Dark Staff was constructed in a dimension or galaxy outside of Star Wars, and has a mind of its own, containing its own goals and aspirations. This is what an ancient Sith Lord said concerning the construction of the Dark Staff. It's an emptiness, a slice of the universe where there is no light and no heat, but also no cold and no dark. Light moves around it, but it does not come into its grasp. It doesn't want the light. It wants the Force. The Dark Staff has the ability, like other Sith artifacts, to corrupt a user, but also influence them in more direct ways. The staff can summon beings, or rather demons, from other dimensions, and feed off of the Force energies of others. In the hands of those learned in the dark side, it could even control space and time, allowing users to travel through time itself. However, the artifact was not invincible, and could be damaged or even destroyed. This eventually did happen, when the light side was directly inserted into the staff, as it broke into a million pieces. And number 1, the Robe of Alima Katos. Alima Katos was a skilled dark side sorceress, and would later go on to serve in the army of darkness of Exar Kun. As one of Exar Kun's greatest allies, she continued with her sorcery, even imbuing her robes with special powers. Unfortunately for her, Exar Kun would betray and kill her, but her robes lived on. Kato's robes were special because they could, could, to some extent, gift a non-Force user powers in the Force. Although not to a natural extent, wearing the robes gave those not in tune enough with the Force the power to wield it on a smaller degree. If one could already control the Force, it would only amplify it. The robes also carried within it knowledge and discoveries of the dark side, as what was left of Alima whispered to the wearer of her robes. The only drawback to the robes of Alima is that only one who is corrupted and evil can wear it accurately, and if one does not wield the dark side of the Force, the spirit will not whisper to them. Nonetheless, it is exceptionally powerful, as again, it essentially gifted somebody the ability to use the Force who is not a Force sensitive. But those were 7 of the most powerful weapons and Sith artifacts that we know about in Star Wars. Of course, I did miss hundreds upon hundreds of other artifacts, and if you would like to see more videos about them, please suggest them below. But these are just some of the most powerful and some of my favorite. I think out of the 7 that we discussed today though, the Talos Holocron is definitely my favorite of the bunch, but I would love to hear your pick of the 7 that we discussed today. As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching these longer videos. It means the world to me. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.